Hello, friends. Welcome back to Value Vintage Cards. This is going to be just kind of sharing some recent additions to the collection. One of the interesting things, which is maybe not surprising to folks that are clicking on this and checking this out, but it's all oversized. So I might just stop using that term. I might just say, big boys or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something to call it because it's not really oversized. It's just the way they're issued and what they're intended to be. So I don't know. 8x10. Let's just go with that. Picture size. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I've got really it's one set. I'm going to run through the set kind of quickly, and then four other individual pieces that kind of tie into this. And you kind of I don't know if you guys collect like this, but you start to see like patterns. Like that was almost like a phase or a interest focus at that point. So you start to see like I picked up three of that guy or two of that set or something all in the same week. I find myself doing that, or you find a piece and you're like, I haven't bought anything of that person in a while, and you look and you're like, there's something else cool out there. So that tends to be how my collecting journey goes. I'm not just out there hunting for like the anything 10% less than market price. I'm out there hunting really for stuff that makes my collection make sense to me. So here's what I'm going to share. The first is actually the whole set. So it's 1969 Sitco. So all my Mets fans are going to know what this is, I think. But these are neat. Found this ungraded, and I'll show you at the end the player I was really looking for. And if you know this set, you know what it is probably. So Cleon Jones. This one's pretty cool. I'm not sure. Interesting. Not sure if we're trying to claim that that's autographed or not. Probably not. Very Kuzman, though. It was underrated. What I didn't show on the first one, these are amazing on the back. Super cool write-up. So, kind of enjoying that. But that one looks like it has an autograph to it. I don't know if that's somebody practicing their forgery or if that's actually him signing it. It's kind of neat. I'll pretend it's real. This is what? Ed Kranepool. All right, cool. Next up is Mr. Jerry Grote. Some of these guys I don't really know. I hit 282 the year before. The year before that, I hit 195. So Gary Gentry. And if you're a hardcore Mets fan, I almost feel like this is required. I picked this up because the entire set was actually less than buying just the one that I wanted. And I don't mind having sets. I don't think I'd ever piece this together and buy one at a time. And Boswell, when the entire set's offered for dozens of dollars, I'll jump at it. Tommy Agee, who I know had a phenomenal World Series catch. It's really the biggest fame that I have associated with Tommy Agee. Pretty cool. Tommy Lee Agee, him in year before hit 217. So the backs are just phenomenal though. Write up, stats, little information on the artist. And then the reason I bought it, really at the end here, is I want to protect it. I will say this too. I get a lot of questions about holders. I just buy them on Amazon. I know eBay, there's folks that sell them as well. Amazon, just quick, easy. It's going to be delivered like the next day at your door. So it's super simple. These are pretty much 8x10s. So I really wanted the Tom Seaver, obviously. It's a cool image. It's neat that it's artistry. It's 1969, and it was very, very reasonably priced. So I don't think it's overly scarce. I don't, there's graded ones out there for hundreds of dollars. I don't think I'd ever bother with that. For the way I collect and what I want to do, I just want to throw this thing on a shelf and occasionally have this in the front and display it. But getting back to the cases, it's an 8x10 item. So I do have 8x10 holders, but I tend to not use those for 8x10s. I tend to use 9x11s when I can. I find a lot of times with these larger items, especially when they're like regional issues or a gas station issue, things like that, the quality control is not as phenomenal as we might expect from like a major issue. So your 8 by 10 turns into be, 8 and an eighth, and now it's kind of up against the top or sticking out slightly. And so a lot of times I'll just grab a 9 by 11, toss it in that, get a little bit of extra bonus, space on the sides and a little bit at the top, and some security that it's gonna fit. I don't have to like replace it. These tend to be, they're actually fairly rigid. They're almost cardboardy. So many of these oversized issues are like newspaper thin. These are pretty stable. If I hold Tommy aging up, I mean, it doesn't bend over my hand. So I would worry less about putting one of these in and out of a case. Um, some of them I would worry a lot about taking them in and out of case because they are so fragile. They're so easily hurt and destroyed and bent and ripped. And you kind of want to, if you're having them ungraded, which is how I prefer to get them, I'd rather hold it once, put it in a case, and then have that be their home for a while. So always fun to be able to actually touch the card, see the card if I want to, but most cases I am doing my best to preserve it and make sure the condition stays consistent. Keeping on the Tom Seaver theme, you guys know I like these advisory staff beasts. This one, it is graded. They called it a 1 of 1. Whatever. I don't necessarily buy into that because I'm sure there's some out there that are not graded. But when you look at something like this, I would say this is probably an item that there's very few of. Message with a couple of different friends just to get some insight. I've picked up a couple of these that are extremely tough. I almost can't verify that they're even real or authentic. And I know sometimes even having them graded is not necessarily the final answer of yes, it is truly real and authentic. And there are some fakes floating around there. And there's some Clementes on eBay right now that are not authentic. So you do have to be careful. Seller has like 10 of them and it's a pretty tough item. So that should be an indicator that if you're selling 10 of them, maybe you're not having the real thing. But it's a unique item, at least. It's one that I haven't seen, and I don't think many people have seen this image. I'm always watching for unique pieces like that. Whether it's truly 1 of 1, I doubt it. But it is tough enough that it could be. There's another piece that I just had out there, and I snagged it, and it went for not super cheap, but I don't know that there's another one in existence. Everyone I've reached out to has said I've never seen that exact item, but we don't question the authenticity. It's a strong seller. It's within the advisory staffs. Those may have just been sent out to stores to put on display, and if a bunch of them got thrown away, then they did. It was 50 years ago. So who knows? Maybe I have the only one of this other one too. This one has, it's really gained steam, and I shared it in a post in my perspective. M101 anything. I think M1012 is probably my favorite set of all time. But that got me thinking, like, what else is out there for the M's? So these are sporting news issues. They're like magazine insert issues. I think some of them you might have like sent in for when they're an M versus them being like inserted in every single time. But when you get into something like this, so this is an M101-7, which I'll be honest, I mean, not too many years ago, I didn't know this existed. So I'm still exploring and learning and trying to figure out some of these really crazy, unique sets. M1012 I've kind of known about for some years, and that's the, like 9 to 13 range, I think, of issue dates. So this is a little bit later. This is, I think these are 26 and 27, but I'm just totally fascinated with these. They're, not color, but they are real images. And this Babe Ruth to me is as good as it gets. I always assume, when you look at populations, I mean, some of the lower players did get thrown away, so there may truly just be less of a player you don't know, and maybe it's not worth sending in for grading because it is a, $50 item, $100 item, and it's expensive to put one of these into a tomb. But Ruth has think 13 graded with PSA. Not sure what they'd have graded with BVG for population, but I'm going to assume this is a pretty tough one to find. So when this came up, I've been watching for it. It's authentic altered. Edges are dinged. Most of these, when you see authentic altered on something like this, where it's super thin and it's oversized, it's, look for tape. The minute there's tape, it's altered. And I've actually had one of them that I've only sent in for grading twice ever in my life. And one of them they actually called and said, hey, this thing's potentially going to fall apart as we're handling it. Would you mind if we put a slight piece of tape on the back? Either way, it's going to be authentic and probably altered for the condition it's in anyhow. That'll just hold it together and make it look more representative of what it's supposed to look like. And I said, yeah, it's totally fine. I don't care. The grade and the letters, whatever else, don't really matter a whole lot to me, and even less over time. But this thing, to me, just amazing image. Super cool set. It's a set that I'm going to guess a lot of folks don't know exist, because I didn't. I'm still learning and discovering. And this is kind of my, focus at this point. This is really where I'm spending a lot of my time and research and effort. And if I'm going to pick something up, it's probably going to be in this realm. So, next one, I've got two more to show you. Same set. Like I said, I don't mind ungraded. I'm not sure who had these. I think there's, I've actually got an Al Simmons and a Rogers Hornsby, which is all I have in the entire set. I have four of them. There's a couple other players that I wouldn't mind having. There's a Pie Trainer, and there's am I forgetting, Tony Lazzari. And then there's some players that are, lesser known, perhaps, not Hall of Famers. But for me, I'm a player collector. I don't necessarily have to have the whole Hall of Fame run even, or, definitely not whole sets in most cases. Just a cool image. So if it's 1926-7 range, this is actually December 16th, 1926. So what I love about these is you get the chance to see the actual date that would have been released. So if it's 1926, end of 26, and this is super early in his career. If I say Kyler, we have Reds fans and Cubs fans probably fighting over who gets to claim him as theirs, because he had pretty good runs with both teams. But start with the Pirates. So to get an early issue like this where he's with the Pirates, to me, super cool. And again, always blank backs, taped up. They sent it in, it's authentic altered. It's been folded and creased. I point that out only because these oversized pinholes, foldings, creasings, missing chunks like the Babe Ruth had, that's what you're going to get. Especially when you're dealing, that one might only have a few graded. Most of the populations, other than Ruth in that set, are like 3, 2, 4, 6. They're very, very low. And obviously, I have a lot of them ungraded. So having the ungraded version, I know there's more out there. So I always kind of go to that, default, go to Ruth, go to Cobb, go to Gehrig, see how many are graded. This last one I'm going to share is one that I've been chasing. Literally, it's been almost a daily search for the last year and a half, 2 years. I guess we're a year and a half out from, not this past Strongsville, but one before. And I looked for this item at both Strongsvilles. I did not see it, I don't think, at either one. So it's been one that's just been on my list. Love the image. Actually have the image one other place. I'll probably do a deeper dive on this player in the coming year and show several pieces of his and see how the image, the photography is used in different applications. But this is one, it's from the 1934 Butterfinger set, which I just featured. I just did a Butterfinger run video. So this one I didn't have. It was on my hunt list. I finally found it. It was an or best offer, and I didn't bother because I've been looking for it for so long. I'm sure many of us that are more of a collector than investor mindset, you see something and it's like, well, I could probably save $30 on it. Not if you've been looking for that long. You're okay. And if you missed it for $20, you would say, okay, well, hopefully in 2028 I can snag this thing when it comes up again, because it's tough. And I've seen a couple ungradeds. This set, when you dive into it, PSA grading wise, the Ruth I think is pushing 100, not quite 100. Gehrig's in the 80s maybe. So I feel like those are the benchmarks. This one feels just tougher. Right now, you can generally find a Ruth for sale on eBay. You can find a Gehrig for sale. This one, like I said, it was zero for sale for a very long time. Graded, I think there was ballpark 10, might be less than 10 graded. And it's probably on that crossover point for a lot of folks. If it's not dozens of dollars, but it's not thousands of dollars either. So, at what point do you grade? At what point do you just leave it alone and say it's going to sit on my shelf? And if you're me, you leave it alone, it sits on your shelf. So, without further ado, the 1934 Butterfinger of Mr. Melott. So the Warsh has the exact same image, but a slightly different depth or distance. Part of it might just be the photography size or the actual items dimensions. But if you look in the back, I mean, there's players in the back. It's him. I mean, when you start matching up images and pictures, you start looking at the creases in their clothes. Right here, there's some wrinkle in his shirt. Take a look at the Gaudi. If you have the 33 Gaudi, pull that thing out. If you have the Diamond Stars, pull that thing out. See how well they recreate, because this is the image. This is the exact same image that they're using there. Theirs is more of an artistic impression. But this thing, to me, is just so amazing. I'm searching to see what else I need for Melott. I feel like my Melott run is strong. And I really do enjoy his story so much about what he did. Sometimes he gets criticized, and sometimes he gets underrated. And some people say he's given too much credit. Some people say he's given not enough credit. So I just think that image, everything about this, and again, typical oversized stuff. You'll see mine. My channel is not near mint collector. I absolutely enjoy this kind of stuff. This is where there's some value. This is where there's some room. This thing in a 2 or 3 is probably exorbitant because these just don't come in high grade conditions. So the image itself is so clean. To me, it's super iconic. I am beyond thrilled to have found this. Literally, I've been looking at this for 2 years, probably on a gosh darn near daily basis. I mean, probably 700 days I've logged into eBay and said, is there one? No. All right, check auction houses every time when I'm going through. It's, do they have Cobbs? Do they have Gehrig's? Do they have Walter Johnsons and Hornsby's and Lefty Groves? And inevitably, I'm searching also for Melott. So the search is over. The hunt has finally been rewarded with the find. So absolutely thrilled. Got it. Yay. That's all I got for you guys. A bunch of oversized stuff. So hopefully some fun. I will catch up to y'all on the next video. Take care.